Greetings, YouTube. Today I'm going to review the movie Push. Now, when this film was released, it didn't do particularly well in theaters, and I think I identified 3 reasons why. Firstly is the pacing. I'm going to have spoilers in this video, so if you don't want to have this film spoiled for you, don't watch this. The pacing. The pacing is very slow, gradual, which in many ways suits the topic of the film. This is a film about people who have psychic abilities, and they aren't hugely showy abilities for the most part. A lot of these abilities are very subtle, and the people make an effort, for the most part, to remain in the shadows, which I can appreciate, because, you know, they are wanted because they are valuable, because there are entities that would use them. So the pacing may have been unattractive to some people. The second is there are some fairly complex plots going on. They kind of weave themselves in and out. There's a lot of untrust. You're not really sure who's going to backstab who. There are multiple groups all vying for different goals within the film, and I think that complexity is going to be confusing for many people. I know it was relatively confusing for my wife, for example, but I have a vast experience reading fiction, both in novels and comics, and playing role-playing games where convoluted plots are part and parcel of the hobby itself. So while, you know, it took me a moment to really think about it sometimes, I was able to follow what was going on. And lastly, it doesn't have a Hollywood end. It's kind of indecisive. You know, there isn't this everybody meets up at the end and there's a "Yay, everyone!" No, you know, no Warriors ending where they stand and watch the sunrise on the beach, even though it wouldn't have been showing from the direction they were. So it had these things against it. Now, having said that, there are things I liked about this film. The main character, whose name escapes me at the moment, and I can't read the box because I just woke up from a nap. He plays the main character, I thought, rather well. He's supposed to be this kind of aimless drifter that's trying to live below the radar. He lives in Hong Kong, and I like the fact that the film was set in Hong Kong, gave it a nice feel. The fact that he spoke Cantonese in the film, and it sounded natural enough that I was convinced the character actually spoke Cantonese, which was kind of nice. And he was a mover, a person that could actually physically move objects. And for the most part, he moved a lot of small objects, but they did show some power growth in the film. And there was one mover who was very powerful, and he was like picking people up and throwing them and like blocking bullets as they flew through the air. And when the two movers fought each other hand to hand, they're putting kinetic punch into their blows, and they're blocking the blows with their kinetic ability. So it really had a superhero feel, which is another reason I think this film failed, because I think they marketed it as an action film with a slight science fiction edge, and in reality, this is a superhero commercial. This film, this is like Hancock, okay? You know, and marketing it as a straight-out action film was disingenuous and probably turned people off. Dakota Fanning is good. She plays a viewer, somebody that can see the future, and she does with art. So if she sees something, she draws it, and she's not always even sure what she's drawing, and it has to be interpreted by her. So it's not clear, it's not distinct, and the future is nebulous. It's not completely set in stone, if you will. And I think she was an inspired choice at the age she made this film, because when she was younger, she was cute. And in a few years, she's going to be attractive. But right now, she's in this kind of gangly age between those two phases of her life, and it was a perfect time for this movie, man, because her character is in that in-between 13-year-old age, not a kid, not an adult, and it was really well done. The other supporting characters were kind of interesting. I like the fact that there were essentially different classes of psychics in this. Besides the viewers and the movers, there were pushers, hence the name, who could change your view of the world. They can make you believe things. They can edit your memories. It's very powerful. There were stitchers who put your hands on you and remake your body if you're injured. I'm assuming in other ways as well. Interestingly, she was the stitcher was one of the few people that smoked, because if you're a stitcher, I imagine you can fix yourself as well. There are bleeders, people who psychically enhance their voice and can scream and cause your ears to bleed when you have disorientation and pain. They blew things up with their voice. There were shadows, people who can be completely invisible to psychic reading and can make other people invisible to psychic reading. There were sniffers, people who follow you, who can find you, but they can pick an object up that you've held and get a scent from it and follow you wherever you are, because now they have a link to you. And it was just very interesting. I thought that it had a potential, and it failed because it wasn't what people want from an action film, which is a pity, because it was better than I think it was given a chance. It didn't. I thought it was going to be really bad. I picked it up cheap for like under $7. But it wasn't that bad. It was kind of enjoyable, and I'm going to watch it again because I want to listen to the commentary. First time I did listen to the commentary. So if you enjoy science fiction, particularly if you're a role player and you ever want to run a modern game that has psychic powers in it, I really recommend this movie. I think it would make a great addition to a role-playing movie library.